gonna be up the whole time, that thing there.
We ready, we record.
Good morning, St. Luke Baptist Church. And good morning to Pastor Turner, Lady Turner, and my friend Wanda Lawrence McPherson. Also to Mother Hartley, thank you for inviting me to participate in your Black History presentation for this morning. And I thought it would be a good idea because of the status of Mound Bayou being one of the oldest all Black towns in the country, that the best person, I think, to talk about the history of Mound Bayou is actually my brother, Darrell Johnson. As you see, he's right here. He's been here all of his life, and he happens to be the probably the best historian in the town. He pastors a church here, Walk of Faith of Mound Bayou, Mississippi, Walk of Faith Church of Mound Bayou, Mississippi, Pastor Darrell Johnson. He's also the former mayor here. And he's also a part of one of the founding members of the Historical Black Towns and Settlements Alliance, hbtsa.org, if you want to look it up on the internet.
Vice President of World Conference.
And also he's as he says, the Vice President of the World Conference of Mayors. So I figured it'd be a good idea to let him talk about Mound Bayou and Darrell Johnson, Pastor Darrell.
Well,
Johnson.
thank you. And thank you for your. I didn't give him anything to say. I didn't give him anything to read or anything for my introduction. So all of that was just right off the top of his head. So, greetings. First of all, greetings to the pastor, First Lady, all of the ones who make up the leadership in that church. We pray the blessing of the Lord upon you all today. We are in the middle of a lot of weather. We're in the middle of a whole lot of situations. We're in the middle of racial divides in our country. We have been dealing with COVID-19. Through it all, I just believe that God is powerfully bringing the church up. And it's so important in the midst of all of this that we really know our history. And when I say our history, African-American history. The reason that I know that a lot of us went through a lot of the things that we've gone through, not just because other people don't know who we are and they are afraid of us, and thus you have all these situations, but then also because of the narrative, we don't know who we are. And we found out, that knowing who you are actually gives you the ability, just like when you learn who you are in Christ, it gives you the confidence and the ability to stand firm in the midst of all situations and any situation. The same thing is about your Black heritage, your African heritage, your African-American heritage. And because of it, I'm blessed to have been from Mound Bayou, Mississippi, and blessed to have been, and to actually be a student of our history. And so I'm going to take a few minutes just to talk about our great history here in Mound Bayou and talk about who we are and how we were brought up knowing who we are. First of all, I just want to say that I was brought up in a town where everybody was somebody, number one, and that we didn't have any types of situations where we had to deal with race because everybody was Black. So that means that the mayor was Black, the sheriff was Black, the postmaster was Black, the train depot, head of the train depot was Black, the superintendent of schools was Black. Everybody was Black. And everybody did their own little part to make who we are. Mound Bayou was founded in 1887, but it wasn't just the founding of Mound Bayou that was so important. It was where the people that came to Mound Bayou, where they came from. They came from a plantation down South Mississippi, near Vicksburg. It came from a plantation called Davis Bend Plantation. It's the Hurricane and the Bryar plantations that were owned by the Davis brothers, Jefferson Davis and his brother Joe Davis. Both of them had slaves upon their plantation. Jefferson Davis and Joe Davis both uh, bought into this uh, Owens type theory that if you would allow everybody to be educated, that it would absolutely in this society, this created society, that this theory that they were bought into, that you know education was one of the key elements in making a society great. Well, they practiced that on their plantation. And because of it, the founders of Mound Bayou, the dad of one of the founders of Mound Bayou, ran that plantation as a slave. But yet, after Reconstruction, one of the first things that whites came to ask him was to run for governor of Mississippi. That's how important and powerful he was, because he actually grew from a slave to have such a great command over in certain things. He had such a great command in certain a whole lot of areas. He was an entrepreneur, and he uh, he actually and I have to make sure that while we're recording, I'm all plugged up. But he actually ran that plantation like a pro. Matter of fact, he ran it better than anybody else. It was the most successful plantation in the South, and so all of the people began to get, for one, cotton was king during that time, but this plantation had the best cotton. And it's because of the formulas and all of the other secrets that they learned on that plantation that they created some of the best cotton down there. When they finally, the son, finally, he also was a slave. But when he finally,
I.T. Montgomery.
I.T. Montgomery and his cousin Benjamin Green heard through this train, the train company that was running up and down Mississippi, going from New Orleans to Memphis, was selling a lot of the land. And some of the land that they sold for Mound Bayou, actually they couldn't sell it to whites because whites wouldn't buy it. It was mosquito and swamp infested. And so when they finally sold the land, they sold it to Montgomery because they knew Montgomery. They knew of their success. They sold it to them, and it was absolutely thick swamp, full of mosquitoes. And within, they bought it, and they would ride the train. The wives and the husbands would ride the train. The ladies would hold the guns on the place, and within a few years, uh, you could see. I'm just going to show you the picture. Mound Bayou was one of the most. It was a powerful place for African Americans, and I'm talking about the early 1900s. It was a powerful place for African Americans. So much so that Booker T. Washington was inspired in the early 1900s. Booker T. Washington, coupled with Isaiah T. Montgomery, and one of the other guys who came in to be an entrepreneur in the area, his name was Charles Banks. And what they would do, they built all of these businesses. They brought all of these agriculture guys in here. They bought up thousands of acres of property around Mound Bayou. They farmed it, and even the white farmers in the peripheral they finally we end up with 6 gins at one time, cotton gins, And even the whites would bring their cotton to Mount Bayou because Mount Bayou set in the country the price on cotton. It was the most premium cotton. They came to Mount Bayou because they wanted to get the Mount Bayou label on their cotton. While we were having all of that going on, Booker T. Washington was inspired because if you know the story of Booker T. Washington, he always inspired business and schools and education. Mount Bayou was doing that, and he inspired people to start cities and communities, African American communities. They did that. You're probably familiar with the Rosenwald schools and all of that, but Booker T. Washington really coupled with the founders of Mount Bayou. And one of the reasons that they did that was because there was an economic boom that was going on. And because of the economic boom, there was the building of the Mount Bayou Bank. This building, this Mount Bayou Bank building, um, Charles Banks came here and built it. And it was the cornerstone for finances. And you talking about uh, powerful things happening. We had more millionaires in Mount Bayou per population than anywhere else in the state of Mississippi, right here in Mount Bayou. And Isaiah T. Montgomery would build beautiful homes such as this one. And this was built in the early 1900s. And this is a 3-story place that is still here now. We are looking to renovate it. They built great structures such as those. And if you would sit on the porch of his home right here, you could look straight across to the place where he built as his church. This church is a church that my brother and I were brought up in. It was Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church. It was the AME church. And we were brought up in that church. But I say this is the church that, let me see if we can kind of get some shots of it. This is the church that Montgomery actually built. This is the church that Montgomery built. And so he was one of the key persons. What do you say? The key deacons in the church. So he was one of the key deacons in the church. Well, they had trustees board in the AME church. In the Baptist church, you got the deacon board, but just like the trustee board. But anyway, he was the key person. And this was directly across. He could look on this, sit there and watch where he was sitting. But Mount Bayou has through the years been a powerful place. It was a place where a lot of things happened. We came up through that time, through Booker T. Washington time, where he influenced, where Mount Bayou influenced other towns to get started, other communities. Mount Bayou influenced other people. African Americans were coming across. Theodore Roosevelt came to Mount Bayou as president in 1907, stopped his train, made a speech, and was amazed at what Mount Bayou looked like. And he coined Mount Bayou as the jewel of the Delta. He said, this is a powerful place. We call that the jewel of the Delta. Actually, when he came, he stood on the back of the train and gave a speech and say, these are absolute real Negroes. That's what he said. You know, he said these are 100% Negroes. It was because he wasn't light-skinned. But he said these were 100% Negroes, and they have done what they have done. And he said there's not one saloon. And he made several observations. And I wish a lot of our people would make these observations as well. And stick to some of these things that we were doing, African Americans were doing then. In the name of being successful. The point I'm trying to make, because I want to make this short, Mount Bayou was a powerful tool. I'm going to share with you how powerful it was during the civil rights movement as well.
And I think there should be some type of way that we can make available between now and maybe because we're recording this today on Saturday, but between now and tomorrow, we'll figure out a way to make available to you a synopsis of our history. It's about 13 pages, and I think that should be a way. We'll figure it out, and after this video, I'll have somebody announce that. So if you wanted to find out a little bit more about the town, but I appreciate you guys allowing us to do this, and because we're proud about town, and we're working to do. We're going to open a museum this summer about the town, and we want to record our history, and so we're making those efforts, and I just appreciate Daryl helping me do this. And appreciate you guys allowing us to be a part of this commemoration. Okay.
So from the home of Mavis Staples, from the home of Medgar Evers, T.R.M. Howard. When I say Medgar Evers, Rena Evers, as his daughter was born right here in Mound Bayou. From the home of Kevin Henry, the football player. From the home of many other famous people. Katie Hall, who is the one who did the bill for Martin Luther King holiday celebration. From the home of Herman Johnson, who took over, and that's my dad, who took over Medgar Evers' job. From that home, from this great home, we want to tell you to have a great Black History Month. And this is from the home of Mound Bayou, the jewel of the Delta. God bless you.